It was a few years. Well, it's probably more than a few years because the first dream happened in the W. Bush era. The second dream happened in the Obama administration era. And it was like I went straight back into that dream. So, this is what happened in part two. I'm living in a home with a lot of other people, but it felt really nice. It felt natural. It felt good. One strange thing about everything inside was purple. Everything was painted purple, not a lilac shade, not even like violet. This was like crayon purple. It's daytime. It's beautiful out. I'm cooking in the kitchen, cutting up stuff or something like that. There was a TV on the wall. The news was on. Everything felt normal. And I realized on the TV there are regulations happening. These regulations at this point are normal. They are coming steadily, periodically, at I don't know how often we're getting regulations, but we're getting them. And to see a new regulation on the news is not unusual. Let's put it that way. So, what are these regulations? Well, I'm not catching all of them. One is about tobacco. These regulations are highly enforced. There are people that are called regulators that come and enforce the regulations. I recently stopped smoking, but at the time I was still smoking, and so the tobacco regulation to me was something I had to be concerned about. I remember in my mind seeing these regulators coming to my home, and I had to make sure whatever this regulation was, I needed to be ready for it. Okay, so another regulation happens. This one is about property and land. Basically, the government was taking maps of everyone's deeds in every area, looking at what you owned and how much you owned, and dividing land among people, like in under a socialist type government. Let's all be fair, And I remember thinking, I don't care because I don't own any land anyways. Maybe I'll get some. Alright, those are my thoughts. Who cares? Then another regulation happens. I don't know what this regulation was. But as a Christian, it was the regulation that any Christian would know they could not accept. You could say this was the beginning or the mark of the beast. Like I said, I don't know what it was. I wasn't shown that, but it happened. It was on TV, and it was just like every other regulation. Most people didn't pay it any attention, no more than they would anything else. I remember having this strange feeling come over me, like it's kind of like a panic, but not. It was an understanding, I guess you could say. Some time went on. I remember going out to do normal things, shopping or paying bills. And I remember looking at people and looking at their eyes. And when I would come across another Christian, they would look at me and I would look at them. And we could not speak about what we knew. But we recognized in each other that we understood. that this was the thing. This was the one we'd been waiting on. It was it was almost a comfort. It was comforting because it's hard to deal with something you cannot talk about. So it's nice to know that at least someone else understands. Then the dream changes, and I'm on the other side of those doors in the line that I ran from in the first dream. I'm now on the other side of them. There's not much going on. Well, it seems kind of quiet, even though I know this is it for me. There's a regulator. I guess there's many regulators in this room, but there was one particular one that was around me. It still looks like my school, kind of like the auditorium or gym or something. And there are metal folding chairs, and I sit down in a chair, and this regulator is sitting beside of me. I can tell he's really tall. He's wearing a military type uniform. I don't remember it being camouflage. It was dark, like dark colors. And he's sitting really close to me, and he's got a large gun, like some kind of semi-automatic. I'm not real familiar with guns. And he sits up. Well, first I remember thinking about my kids, because I have both of my kids at this time. And I didn't think, I hope they're okay. My thought was, I hope they know what to do. And at the same time, I felt like I know they do. The regulator sits forward, because we're sitting so close together, you would have to make a real effort to turn and talk to each other, and I had no interest in talking to this guy. So he sits forward to get a little space between us, and then he turns and looks at me, and he mocks me, and he says, "Don't you wish the light would come right now and save you?" And I say yes. Now, there is a meaning in this exchange, and what it is that this man is basically asking me, are you a Christian? Are you willing to admit you're a Christian? Are you willing to take the punishment for being a Christian? And my response was yes. Yep. That's the way it's going to be. And then he sat back, and we were both sitting back in our metal folding chairs really close together, waiting for the next part. And that was the end of the dream. I wasn't afraid. I felt almost like kind of in a daze, I was numb. And that's it.